In this stream, I'm going to have a crack at setting up a Quasar app extension using the Firebase-Composables that I've been building in previous streams. So I'm going to head over to quasar.dev, create an app extension, and basically just see where it takes me. So we go over to the app extension part of the docs. I think it's actually in here. Here we go. And they have a pretty decent development guide. Actually, it's a great development guide from creating your own app extension. And I've already read these docs before, so a lot of this I already know. Basically, if you want an app extension that doesn't have UI elements, you just use this. Otherwise, you use the UI kit. So I'm going to copy that, and let's just paste that into our terminal. And what will we call it? So instead of my UI, let's just call it Quasar. How about Quasar UI Firebase? There's a naming convention actually. Quasar app extension. I think there's another one though where you have to say like Quasar UI or something like that. Quasar UI or Quasar app extension, then my app then the name of it. I want to kind of follow that naming convention from the beginning. So it might be on the next page. Prompts API. No, this is just talking about the different APIs. I'm pretty sure you have to give it a name. Maybe they got rid of the need for that. Quasar dash UI. I remember that's what it was. You had to say Quasar dash UI. Let's give that a second and see what it finds. Nothing. All right, so I might just they might have gotten rid of that actually. The second official kit is the a way I can check this is to look at the latest Q calendar. So Q calendar would be doing the right thing. Quasar Q calendar. Let's go for that. Yeah, here we go. I think this might be on version 2 now. So this would be one way to do it. If you're looking for the Quasar that works with you, free over to the new docs. All right, so let's head over there. Get started. And I want to see if I can find the GitHub page here. Or you know what, that GitHub page is probably sitting on here somewhere. Gosh, we're off to a great start, aren't we? Probably next. I'd guess it's on the next branch. Yeah, okay, here we go. So this is the next branch. And now I basically want to look at what he's called it. So if we go to package.json here, he's just called the package Q calendar. Quasar UI, okay, so it has followed this convention as well. However, I think that's just with the npm package, so I don't think I need to worry about that when I'm actually naming the package itself. I probably just wanted this big tangent for no reason. So how about with this? We call it Q Firebase, I guess. Let's go with that. All right, so Q Firebase, and we'll use Luke at quasarcast.com. View component, view directive. Is it possible that we would use a view directive here? I might just leave it there for the example. Package description, and we'll call this integrating Quasar with Firebase. For UMD, we want to give it a global variable. So how about we just say maybe something like Q Firebase? We'll go with that. And this is going to be for the component name. However, I'm going to have a few components, so I'm just going to leave that as my component. Do I need a style sheet? I am not going to need a style sheet. We're going to go full Quasar with all of this. Directive name. Okay, so that's just for the example directive. Does it? No, it does not. App extension description. I feel like we just gave it a description. It's going to pretty much be the same thing. All right, so now I need to think about this prompt script. What does that give us? Let's have a look at the prompts API. That's going to ask you some questions. So maybe we could make it so that you can just paste your config file in there. Nah, you probably wouldn't do that. Honestly, we'd probably just create a config file, Or maybe we could ask them where they want to put their config file. I don't think I do that either, actually. So let's just go to install script. And we probably won't bother with an uninstall script. Git repository type is going to be git. And now they want to read a URL. So how about we just go to github.com and quickly whip up a URL for this. Oh, what happened here? Well, that's exciting. Something new with Tailflow's Laravel Orion, one of my favorite packages. And how about we call it Q Firebase? Q Firebase. We'll go with that. And I'm going to take that description there and whack it in here. Public. Yeah, we'll make it public for now. I don't really see why not. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so that's ready to go. We've now got a URL, so I'm going to copy that. And what's the HTTPS version? So there we go. Homepage URL. Let's just say quasarcast.com for now. Something like that. Issue reporting. I'll probably just use the issues page. So let's just copy the link address there. And yes, we will use yarn. Cool. All right. It's a bit of a process, but we're pretty much up and running now. Actually, let's move that on my other screen. And then when that's done, I'm going to CD into it. Just exit out of that. Yeah, when that's done, I'll CD into it. And then we'll go ahead and get started. This would be a good testing ground as well for me to just check that all the Firebase related stuff is actually working okay. And this is the first time I've had to build a package that deals with peer dependencies, so it's kind of fun to sort of play around with that. Q Firebase, CD into there, open that in code. All right. And now we can start working in our editor. So the first thing I guess I'll do is I'll bring in Firebase-Composables, which is that package that I built. So let's say yarn add Firebase-Composables. And we're going to need Firebase as well. So I might as well get that going now. Yarn add Firebase. Now the next thing I'm thinking is, oh, hang on. I was probably supposed to jump into UI before doing that. All right, let's just give that a second to run. And then we'll go ahead and jump into the UI folder. You know what? I can probably just cancel these actually. So we'll CD into UI. Now remember, one includes the other. So I think might be UI will include app extension. Let me just have a look down here. Might be the other way around. So we go here, then this has a dependency of Quasar UI Firebase. So I think I want to add my dependencies here. I've actually never thought about that. Where do I add my dependencies? So introduction. Yeah, I don't know. Well, you know what? I can probably head over to the trusty Q calendar and see what Jeff's doing there. I always kind of use this as a reference point. If we go to the app extension, package.json, are there any dependencies in here? So just that one dependency. And then it looks like, yeah, these are all just dev dependencies, so that's not really relevant. Oh, let's come back here. And then UI. Otherwise, I'll look at his Markdown plugin. That'll probably give me a good idea. Dev dependencies. Yeah, I'm not seeing any dependencies here. So what I might do is I'll check out the Markdown because that's definitely going to have a dependency, I assume. So let's get a Quasar framework. We'll search for, oh, here we go. It's a coincidence. It's sitting right at the top there. And I'll go to app extension because this is where I think it might be. Package.json. Okay, so we got front matter, raw loader, where loader. Doesn't look like either of those are what I'm looking for. So let's go over to UI. Hang on, he's got a package.json here as well. that's different. I think that's just doing for doing like global tasks or something like that. But let's check this package.json and see what he's done here. Here we go. It looks like all of it is actually sitting in Quasar UI. Anyway, so that's probably the decision I'm going to go with, at least for now. It's probably one of these things that's going to be easy to change later on anyway. All right, so for dependencies, we're going to do that inside of, well, first of all, let me just get rid of that package.json. And we won't want that yarn.lock anymore. We'll come in here. So we're in UI now, and we'll say yarn add Firebase-Composables and also Firebase. So we'll give that a second to run. And then when that is done, I'm going to head over to the dev folder. So we get this really nice dev folder as well, so we can start playing around quickly. And now we should be able to say just Quasar dev in there. Quasar dev. And then that's going to give us our example component, and I can then just pretty much start playing around. So here we go. Here's our example component. First thing I want to build, I think, probably just the form to begin with. So let's go to this dev folder here, source components. No, hang on, that's the dev folder. We want to go to components, and let's, oh, that's right. By default, it doesn't use .view files. I definitely do want to code using .view files. That's an opinion that they have where they use, I can't remember what this is called. I'm blanking on it at the moment. But I prefer to use .view files. So let's have a look at how you can do that. I think I just want to go to the build script somewhere. Hang on. Quasar app extension. Let me just see if they might have changed things since I last checked this out. Let's go to build. Index, no. No, it's not going to be in there. We script JavaScript. I'm trying to look for the view compiler. Yeah, so there's no view compiler. Nothing for compiling .view files. However, I remember on the starter kit page they talked about this. So let's just come over here. Actually, we'll go to support GitHub repositories, Quasar kit, Quasar starter kit UI. Here we go. And there was a pull request that somebody made. It wasn't issues. It was a pull request for making .view files. Yeah, here it is here. I was part of this conversation as well because it's something that I also need. So let's go to file changes here and have a look at what Mesquib has done. So he's gone into script.javascript.js and he's added these in. And let me just check that they do actually make sense. So we need CommonJS in order for this to work. Wow, really? So it doesn't have CommonJS already? That surprises me. I thought it would have needed it. I don't know, maybe this just gives you configuration that they didn't need before. And then rollup plugin view, but I think that might be namespace now. Let's just look it up. Rollup view plugin. Rollup plugin view. No, it looks like it isn't namespaced. Oh, hang on, but we need rollup view 3 SFC. So we need, I think we might have to use the @next flag. Will we? All right, we'll find out in a second. Just because I know that this pull request was made before we were on view 3. So we want CommonJS sitting there above rollup plugins. All right, so it's going to do its thing. And then we want view plugin coming in here after node resolve. All right, and then these are all the dependencies that we need. So let's come over here to our package.json. And we're going to need rollup plugin common.js. I'm curious to know what that's currently at though. So, well, actually, when was this last changed? Does it say? Maybe it doesn't actually say. Maybe let's come back to the pull request and see if it's changed since then. So that's when it was opened. Nothing here saying that something has changed, so I don't think it has. So I'm just going to have to do a bit of reconnaissance here. We'll take a look at what version this is currently sitting at. Common.js, the version is 21.0.1. Close some of these down, getting overwhelmed. And this is 11.1.0. Wow, that seems like a massive jump. All right, so what I might do is I'm just going to add this. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that the APIs are the same. And then just add this by saying yarn add. We'll add common.js. We'll add rollup plugin view and see if that does give me the next version. Yarn add rollup plugin view and then view template compiler as well. But we are going to want version 3 of that. So let's just add it first and see what we get. Yarn add view template compiler, and then hopefully that's going to give us it for view 3. No, it hasn't. So we're going to have a look at how I will get this for view 3. So view template compiler, if we go to their GitHub page, they'll probably let us know where to go for view 3, I'm assuming. Can be used to precompile view 2. I don't know, they're mentioning view 3 at all on this page. Must be. Or maybe it's next. I have to look at the next branch. Oh, hang on. This might be the GitHub page. Vue.js, view template compiler. Tags. Okay, so it's probably in a different namespace. So maybe view 3 view dash template dash compiler. As you can tell, I haven't spent a lot of time doing this kind of thing. View 3 webpack, that might be something helpful. All right, so it looks like it's, okay, this might help us out. Whoops, accidentally clicked on something. Is built by design to be, all right, there are 4 main ways. Okay, so template dash tools for authoring single file components. If you want to use SFCs, then you also need to install view compiler SFC. Okay, so it looks like they might have just renamed it. So let's go ahead and yarn remove view template compiler. Or is it uninstall? I think I might have used the wrong language there. Oh no, that's correct. And then we want to add this with the D flag. So go yarn add. And then hopefully that's going to work for us. So let's look up template. Oh, it's not template compiler. It's just compiler SFC 3.2.20. Now, I also probably want to check what version of Quasar we're on. We're on what version of the app we're using. Oh, sorry, of Vue. So we can do that with Quasar info. Will that work in UI? Yes, it looks like it did. And I don't know how to keep this in sync with the version of Vue though, or at least I don't know a nice way to do it. Let's say here, Quasar info. And what do we got here? 3.2.20. It looks like they're in sync for now, but I've got to keep an eye on that and make sure that I'm doing everything correctly there. So we just want to play around for now though. So let's just get things up and running. All right, so we've got view template compiler now. I'm probably going to have to do some digging as to how this is used now. Okay, SFC. All right, so that replaces it. And I'm guessing that the API is probably the same, but we'll find out anyway. So, okay, that's the view plugin. Now let's look at the part where they use the template compiler and we'll basically convert that code. Or you might not even need it anymore. The rollup plugin view might actually handle that. But now we need to make sure that we're using the next version of that so that it all works okay. Rollup plugin view. All right, we're gonna have to do some more digging here as well. I wonder if they talk about rollup in the docs. Oh, okay. The CSS inside. This is a plugin for rollup that allows you to author view components in format. Okay, cool. Getting started. Let's do what they're doing in the docs here to make sure that we're doing the same thing. Oh, they're using const though. I just want to change this to view then. Follow their methodology there. That's all you need. You can customize this plugin behavior by passing in an optional option. So yeah, okay. All right, looks like that might actually be it. So let's just try running the build and see what happens. So built okay. Maybe it's working. But we'll test that later anyway. I don't want to get too caught up in all of this. For now, let's just see if we can start developing. So we'll come into, we'll go UI/dev. And then let's jump into those. What am I doing? Oh, okay. I want to come over and look at the component. We want to change this now. So let's make this login form, and we'll change that to .view. And we're going to have to change the way it's imported as well. So we'll come over to, I don't even know what all this is. Oh, these bits and pieces have changed now. Oh, cool. They've separated this out to make it easier. I like that. As view plugin, yep. But I want to see the part where it imports the component. Where is that? You would think it would be in source. So, all right, looks like it's here actually. So that's the component. And we want to change that to login form, component / login form.view. And we'll change this to login form. Man, I'm going to need a generator so I can easily create new ones. Login form. I don't want it to auto install. I'd rather people just import this. So no, do not do that. But you can install the directive. And we do want the component here, login form. All right, so I think that's it. Let's run this again, Quasar dev. And that's probably going to point to the wrong thing though in Quasar dev. So now we need to fix that up. Oh no, looks like everything's working. Cool, all right, that worked fine. So now all we should have to do is come in there and basically just start playing around with our login form. So we'll change this to a view template. And now let's just have, for example, q-form. And then inside of there, I'm just going to have a q-input. And that will do for now. I'm not getting auto completion, but that's all right. So let's just save that. What is this? Babel preset React. I don't know why it would be using that. Looks like this isn't being compiled correctly. So let's look at the way it's being imported here in our test project. I'd say that would be the problem. So dev source pages index.view. Okay, this is the one that takes you to all the pages. And we go to router pages. I just want to make sure that it's going to get picked up. Well, it is getting picked up. We already know that. So test one. And we need to change this from my component to, what was it? It was Quasar, no, not Quasar, login form. Is that meant to be trying to auto import it? Yeah, it looks like it is trying to auto import. Let's go login form. Tab, no, all right. So I'm gonna have to come in here and import that myself. I don't think I want any styling at all, actually. Actually, what was he doing here? Yeah, I don't see any reason that I would want that. Login form, but then I'm going to have to import it. So let's come in here and say script. Whew, okay, I think we're almost there. And we use script setup here and import login form. There we go. Managed to find it. And we can probably get rid of that view part there. Okay, now what are we getting? It looks like there might be an auto importer. I'm not sure I actually want to use an auto importer though when I'm developing. So let's just come down and see. No, this doesn't look like it is. So what problem am I running into here? Login form is pointing to login form.view. Maybe it's because here I need to actually import those components from Quasar. What have I done? Don't want to switch them. So let's come in here. What have I done? I put that inside of the script tag. Ugh. All right, let's do that. And now let's try importing Q form and then also Q input from Quasar. Let's just try restarting this just in case there's something that's funky going on with all the changes I've made. Oh, so it's saying that it can't resolve the imported dependency. Is that still the problem? Yeah, so maybe it's having trouble with those aliases. That could be the case. So let's just try and do it relatively for now and see what happens. But I definitely do want to end up being able to use the aliases. Where are we? So probably even one step further. We'll jump into UI slash source slash components slash login form. What's that going to do? Okay, so that has worked. So basically we want to try and make it so that this UI source components shortcut is going to work. And then we'll be ready to start developing this app extension. Gosh, it's been almost half an hour. I'll try and put these on my ears. Yeah, it's a bit more comfortable. Okay, so what was the problem? The problem seems to be that we don't actually have this this shortcut here. And VS Code might actually just be getting confused. I'm not sure it even exists. Oh no, here we go. So we're resolving UI to source. Oh, it's taking us straight to index.esm.js. So let's jump into there and see what that takes us to. So source index.esm.js. And this is the one that doesn't seem to be... Okay, so and obviously it can't find it from there. So let's open it up again. It's looking for login form. So we're taking in the View plugin, and it's expecting that the View plugin will simply give us the component, but obviously it's not because I removed it from automatically supplying the component. Because I don't want to include the component if people don't want to use this login form when they're using the Firebase extension. So I think the answer to this, so they're importing all. Oh no, all as View plugin. So it's being exported there. So I would have thought that would mean that it's available. Okay, let me see out of interest if doing this fixes the problem. If I just simply import login form like that, and then I also say here export login form. No, still can't resolve it. Source components. Actually, I'm doing this all wrong in the import itself, I believe. So let's come back here. I think I need to do it like this. Import login form from source components? Or maybe just directly from UI. Because UI, I think, points directly to index.esm. And there we go, that works. And that's much cleaner anyway, I like that. And see if we've got any errors in the console. No, great, we're ready to start developing now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that other test project that I had and basically steal a bunch of code from there because it had plenty for me to get started with. And I called it Quasar 2-Firebase, I think. Yep, there it is. We'll open that up. Okay, so here's that project. And where's the login page? So there's the login page, and I'm just going to steal the form code for this login page. And I want the form to be basically as raw as possible so that the user can basically configure it however they please. And when I say user, I mean the developer. So here it is. Here's our email login form. I'm just going to take that code and we'll come back here, go to our login form and just whack it in there and then start having a play. All right, so helpers, validators is valid email. Yeah, I should probably use that. That sounds helpful. So let's go ahead and grab the code for that. There it is there. Very basic email validator. And let me think of a nice place to put this. I think probably just a new folder called utils. Yeah, I think that's what people tend to do. And then we'll just create a new file there for this validator and we'll call this isValidEmail.js and just whack that in there. So let's see if I can automatically import that by just saying isValid. And there we go. That's automatically going to give me what I need to import that. There we go. So that's a start. Then we've got define props here. And now I should probably import this rather than using magic when I'm creating a plugin. So let's say define props, and I want to have to import that myself. But it looks like maybe the View SFC plugin actually is doing that for me. So I guess we'll find out about that in a sec. It's telling me here ref is not defined. So let's find the point where it's using ref. We might have to come in here and say ref. All right, we can't even find the import for that. So let's come up here and say import ref from View. That should fix that problem. Let's refresh this page and see what we've got now. Can I read properties of undefined reading email? Okay, so where's that problem? Login form 48, that's with the model value. Okay, that's because in the test file itself, we haven't actually supplied it with a form. So let's go to the test page itself, and make sure we're actually putting in some data here. So v-model is equal to form. And I'll come in here and I'll say const form is equal to a ref. Man, I really wish those imports would show up. Import ref from view. And the form is equal to a ref. And we'll say that it's got an email, which is equal to nothing by default, and a password, which is also equal to nothing by default. But we'll actually pull this out of Firebase, I imagine, because I've already got the login stuff from Firebase that we will use there. So let's just try login. What did I call it? I think I can just say like from Firebase-Composables. And there was one here that was like login. Nah, gosh, I can't remember it for the life of me. Yeah, go away, linter. Oh, it was sign in. But there should be ones here for registering. Yeah, maybe it was like use Firebase sign in or something. I don't know. Let's just go through these. Use Firebase. Oh, wait. Use email register. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. But this is a login form, so we want use email something else. Use email login, is it? No. Sign in. Okay, there we go. That's right. The nomenclature with Firebase is sign in. So let's come over here and say use Firebase. Here we go. Now we're getting the auto completion. Use email sign in. Let's just check if I am actually getting that there. Yep. Use email sign in. Ah, okay. So now I can say const. I guess we'll call this email sign in or something like that. Is equal to, or we'll just call this sign in service. That's probably a better name. Sign in service is equal to use email sign in. Copy that. And that actually gives us a form to make it way easier to work with. And I don't know if I have to go dot value here. Let's do it anyway and see what happens. At least that'll give us a start. Yep, cool. Oh, I've accidentally left in the default email and password that I've got there. But that's a good start. So now that I think of it, we need a way for Quasar to basically automatically create this app extensions, create files for this app extension for our Firebase config. So I think what I'll do, coming back to my other project here, I had a good architecture for this. Yeah. So what I've basically done is added providers and then default in there so that you can add multiple providers if you really wanted to. Or at least at some point, I'd love to have an architecture like that. So let's come over here. And in dev, we'll add a new folder here, which will be config. And I want to tell Quasar to automatically create that config file for me. And now I know you can do this. It's probably in the install API. Something about template or something. Copies a folder from your app extension templates, any folder you specify, into root of the app. Maintains the same folder structure that the template. If some of the files already exist in the app, then it will ask you, yep, okay, that all makes sense. So render a folder from extension plate. So you say api.render path to a folder for your template. So how about this? We come in here. Oh, there we go. We've already got templates there. Sweet. That makes it so much easier. And we'll create a new file here, or a new folder, which will be called config. And then there'll be a new file in there called firebase.js. And then this is where the Firebase config is going to sit. All right. And then obviously, I'm not going to have my API key pre-configured there. I'm just going to replace all of these with a bunch of X's. That one, that one, that one, and that one. So maybe something like this. Yep, that's good enough for me. And then the user can easily like just replace that with whatever their Firebase config is or double click to add them in. So that should be easy for them. And now I'm not going to test this yet, but ideally that will install it. Oh, I should at least write the code for this. I think you have to say in the install script. Yeah, there it is there, API. So API.render. Well, I'm not getting any code completion, which makes me think that could be wrong. Oh, it looks like it just hasn't been type scripted yet. And then you give it a path to the file that you want to render. So in this case, it looks like it is simply ./template. Yeah, or templates, plural. So is that it, or do I have to say template path, relative path to folder to render in app? So I might have to go one step further and add in here config/config like that. Anyway, we're going to test that later on. This stuff is like scoped out stuff anyway. What I really want to check is if, so we're going to assume that all installed correctly, and I'm going to copy that config file, and I'll come down here into our dev server config and just basically paste that in. Yes, replace. Oh, it didn't work properly. I need to do this. There we go. Okay, so we've got our config file sitting in there, and I'm just going to replace that with my actual config file that I know works. And by the way, you're allowed to see this. There's actually no secrets in this. So obviously there couldn't be because this is sitting in the Firebase code. So if you're looking at this thinking, Lurk, you're an amateur, why are you flashing this on the screen? It actually doesn't matter if you see this. But I guess you could still call me an amateur. So now I want to make sure that the plugin uses that config. And so we're going to have a boot file. I think you get it. Hang on, you can create like a Quasar extension config as well. So maybe that would be the better way to do it. I don't know. I like having a config folder. But yeah, but otherwise then it asks you a bunch of questions and that's how it generates the config. Now we'll stick to what we've got here. Now next I want to create a boot file that basically uses that config. So maybe what we'll do is we'll automatically create a boot file for them. Either that, or maybe it's better to just register a boot file. I don't know. And then you could basically say, do nothing on this boot file if they choose not to register it. Then again, if they're using this plugin, they probably want to do it in this way. So view use view plugin, and that's going to call the install part here. So there's view plugin. That's going to call install, which then runs the code that we're going to use to install Firebase. Okay, but I don't just want to say view plugin here. I also want to send in the config. And then what that should do, yeah, we're going to have to create a test app as well, because we've got a dev app, but you also have to kind of have to make a test app to test. Like the dev app is only really for like working with your components. We need a little bit of extra flexibility. I didn't explain that very well, but it is very difficult to explain. All right, so I believe this boot file will end up being in the context of the app. So I should be able to say here, import so we're in the boot, let me just think, we'll be in the boot directory. So we'll go // and then we'll be able to say config and then / that should then give us firebase.js. Firebase.js, like that. So we'll say config is equal to that. Whoops, import config from that. And now I should be able to say here, app.use, and then just pass through the config directly like that. Right, so now we're going to assume that we got this Firebase config, and I might need a little bit of extra space here. And we're sitting inside our View plugin. We've just received the config here. And the install, I'm pretty sure, gives you app first and then the config. So let's just double check that by saying plugins for when you're creating a View plugin. Man, this is really pushing my brain. So you get app and then options. Yeah. So that's what this is. This is going to be our options. That's the kind of language they're using there. So that's the language we'll use here as well. And we might change it at some point or nest config somewhere else in the options. All right. So now we want to say, oh, actually, I think we can we say app.use inside of an inside of an install? Because I've actually already got an installer for Vue as one of the composables. All right, so anyway, let's get that imported then. And I believe I called it Firebase plugin. So we're essentially doing an install inside of the install, just in case there's any other Quasar-esque type stuff we want to do in this install script. So app.use, we send through Firebase plugin, and then we send through the options. And now I need to remember how this works. Here's Firebase plugin, initialize app using options.config. So it expects our config to be in something called config, and that is the raw config. So we want to say here options dot config. Man, this is stretching my brain. Options dot. So now by saying options, I've put myself inside of here dot providers dot default. All right, I think I've done that all correct. Anyway, I think it's time we really started basically building an environment so I can test this properly. So it sounds like I'm actually going to need like another project here for actually testing the app, not just the components, but testing the app as a whole. So in order to do that, I'm going to come out here. And now we're going to say Quasar create. So we're creating a new Quasar app, and we'll call this test. Or maybe test app. Yeah, we'll go with that. All right, test app. Most of this I can just leave. Testing Quasar Firebase. Testing Quasar Firebase. Author Luke at quasarcast.com. No, we're not going to need any. Possibly. We'll just use kind of the defaults here. So ESLint, yes, and then we'll use Vuex and Axios just in case we need to use those libraries. Axios we probably won't need, actually. So let's just leave it at that. ESLint, I use standard, and then we'll use yarn there. Okay, so then this is going to give us a project we can test with. And I remember they have a really good section for telling you how to test it. Provide a UI component. Maybe it was in the introduction. This is really handling package. We need to create a Quasar project to be able to test it. Okay, this is what we're doing now. We manually add our app extension. Notice that we are not specifying the npm package. Yeah, okay, it's not package. Yeah, that makes sense. Right, and so the way I usually do this is just manually. We'll go to test app, the one that we just created. We go to our package.json. And in our dev dependencies, we're going to add this extension. And so the extension is called, if we go to source, no, where is it? Actually, no, we got to go to app extension to find the name. Quasar app extension Q Firebase. That is what it's called. And that should automatically include, yeah, Quasar UI Q Firebase. All right, so let's come back to this package.json. And what version does it give me by default? Anyway, I know what I want it to be in the end. I want it to be anything greater than 1.0.0. And so let's come back here and make sure that by default, yeah, I want to change that now to 1.0.0. Same up here for all of them. Package.json, this one here, 1.0.0. And I think that's about it. There might be, no, it's not going to be anything inside of there. Okay, so where am I at? We've got our new, yeah, Quasar app extension. Actually, no, I don't even need to give it a version. All I have to do is point it to the file. So we do that by saying file // and the way I figure this out is usually by just cding into test-app. Whoops. CD into UI, and it's just going to be this directory here. So pwd to print the working directory, and there it is there. We copy that, and then we just paste it in like that. So now this should have that app extension. And now we call invoke on the name of that extension, which I believe is just going to be Q Firebase. So let's try this. We'll get out of there. We'll jump into our test app. And then we'll say Quasar extension invoke, which is basically a way of kind of like saying install the Q Firebase extension. All right, we might have to run yarn first. Okay, so he said yarn add here, so I just need to run yarn now. Cross my fingers and hope that it all works okay. And then, so this should now be installing my app extension, right? Which is, you know, being pointed to here. Oh, give this a second to run. Yeah, okay, there we go. We're getting... Yeah, you're going to get those unmet peer dependency problems, but that's totally fine. It's because Quasar includes view behind the scenes, I'm pretty sure. Now let's run that invoke part again. I thought that's how you did it. And you just said, we said our extension ID. For the sake of this argument, let's assume we entered there are two official the Do not provide a UI like a component or directive unless the objective is to install it. Okay, yeah, so we're doing the UI kit one and the app extension folder for the creator. The UI kit can also be needed. Yeah. Q Firebase is definitely what I called it there. What if I get rid of... No, I already know that that worked. Am I in the right folder? We're inside of test app. Yep, Quasar extension, and we called it Q Firebase, so that should be working. All the other files are optional. You can mainly, yeah. You have 2 npm packages, one for the app extension. Yeah, I understand that. Now, I might also need to tell it where the UI extension is. Okay, so let's say we'll come in here. Q Firebase, we'll say app dash extension there. Oh, and that's pointing to the UI one. Oh, hang on. So let's just get rid of that. I think I've done this wrong. We want to point to app extension, not the UI directory. And now we'll run yarn again on this. And we'll try invoking it again. So maybe that wasn't invoking because it was trying to go to the UI folder rather than the app extension folder. This stuff always takes me a while to wrap my head around. But it looks like we're getting there. Quasar UIQ Firebase. All right, so maybe that does also need to be added in here. So we'll come in here and try that. Quasar app extension. Now I think for instead of app extension, you say Quasar UI and then the name of it. And then we change this from app extension to UI. So let's give that a save and then run yarn again. Now what have I done? Might have to ask Jeff how to figure this out. And we've done this in the dev dependencies. Yeah, all right. Oh, I might have to take a break soon. My brain is starting to get a little bit dead. How to test the prompts as to... In order to test this, you can repeat the uninstall. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to read this from top to bottom. Okay, so it's only taught, that only shows you how to test these scripts. It doesn't actually show you how to test the index script. Yeah, okay. As a result, the index script is run each time Quasar yeah, okay. You can repeat the uninstall and install procedures described above each time you change something. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So from the Quasar testing apps to the folder of your extension. So I don't understand why I can't just use yarn link rather than pointing directly to the folder like this. I remember there was a reason. It's like, but this stuff is complicated. Ugh. Anyway, let's come back to the error at B. So it can't find the package Quasar UI Q Firebase. Maybe I've named that wrong. So let's come in here. Quasar UI Q Firebase. Quasar UI Q Firebase. No, I've named that correctly. Luke code Q Firebase. And then UI. So that should definitely be pointing us to that package.json. So I imagine that should work. Did I not save it? Hang on. No. Now let's just check the version is correct as well. Yep, 1.0.0, so that should definitely get found. However, the problem might be that it's finding this package here, which is then trying to install it from the web. At least that would be one of my guesses. No, I couldn't find that. Wait, what? Do I have to get rid of that first slash? I remember that this was kind of weird. No, it worked before when we had a double slash and we were just doing Quasar app extension. So let's come back into package.json here. Yeah, man, this stuff is confusing me. All right, maybe I just need to read things more carefully. Manually testing. All right, so maybe we'll just try doing a yarn link then. So we'll yarn link both of these. First, I need to get into their folders. So yarn link there. So that's done. We'll jump into app extension. We'll yarn link that as well. And we'll set the version here to anything greater than 1.0.0. And we'll do the same here. And now we'll link both of those packages in test. Yarn link Quasar app extension Firebase. And then we'll do a yarn link on Quasar UI Q Firebase. Now what happens when I yarn this? No. Bugger. Because I think the problem that's happening is that when it tries to install the app extension here, it then tries to go to the web to get Quasar UI Firebase. So it works, and Quasar UI Firebase does not. Look, another thing I could possibly do is just try deleting the node modules folder. Oh, and I'm pretty sure you have to delete the yarn.lock. In fact, I probably should have done that long ago. That could have something to do with it. Because I think the yarn.lock might hold like where everything is resolved from. If so, I'm going to commit that to memory because I feel like I've actually had this problem a few times in the past. Come on, please work, baby. No. So what specifically? Quasar app extension Q Firebase. which is weird because I did a yarn link to that. Quasar app extension Q Firebase. There it is there. Clearly a yarn link. So if that's a yarn link, then why on earth? Just view that error again. Oh, it tries the whole thing again. Oh man. This really is beyond me. Unexpected to occur. Alright, let's come back up here. You say yarn link. Yep, this is what I did. I go to the extension folder, I run yarn link. And then that doesn't seem to do anything at all. All right. Yeah, it's really, I think it's almost time to take a break. Maybe if I do a link and then an add, so I feel like I'm clutching at straws now though. Let's save that. We're going to do a whole bunch of starting from scratch here. We're going to delete our yarn.lock. Do we even have one? Nope. We're in app extension, so yarn link, that should already be linked. Yes, it already is linked. So now we'll jump into UI link, which should already be linked as well. Yes, it does. And then you should be able to say yarn link and then the package that you want to link. So let's start with the first one. And we'll just copy this as a bit of a cheat. And then, so we're in the test app and we say yarn link, Quasar app extension, and the name of it is Q Firebase. All right, so it was successfully linked. I can even see it there in node modules. Now let's see what happens when I yarn that. We'll give that a second to run. I think we're going to hit the same problem again though. Oh, hang on, what? So it seems to have worked that time. Maybe I did just have to basically delete the crap out of everything. But now I want to actually test if this works. So let's run Quasar extension invoke, and the name of this extension is Q Firebase. And there we go. All right, so let's run Quasar dev. Now I doubt this is going to work from the get-go, but that's all right. We can start debugging now. So I don't know why it worked that time. It's not even showing up in my dependencies. So maybe they don't even want it in the dependencies. You just link it and I don't know. Yeah, hang on. Can't resolve. And of course it can't because it's not installed. All right, well, let's go ahead and run that then. Yarn add Quasar UI Q Firebase. All right, let's link that. Oh God, I might have to do everything again. Yarn that, Okay, there we go. Now it seems to be. I don't know why, but Yarn Link is just working now. So some weird crap has been going down. Now, I might have to install Firebase as well because it is a peer dependency, which is good. That's what I want. I want the user to have to install it themselves. Okay, so when I invoked this, it was supposed to ask me, it was supposed to automatically create that config directory. It looks like it did not do that. Okay, so you need to... Okay, so now we should be able to basically re-invoke the app in order to test this. And now I can say Q Firebase. Okay, so it is actually doing that. And where is it putting it? Source. I'm not seeing my config file here. Oh, here it is, firebase.js. What is that doing? Okay, that's just a linting thing. Okay, cool. That's working, but it's just not putting it inside of a directory. So let's delete that. Now we fix the problem here and re-invoke the app. Okay, once the dev environment's set up, this is actually probably going to be a really nice flow. And so if we go to install, we do actually just want to grab the templates folder itself. So that is the actual code that we want there. So let's re-invoke that. And now we should end up with a config directory in here. Here it is with Firebase and everything ready to go. How cool is that? Now I've just jumped over to my other screen here, where I'm basically just going to paste all of my settings in there. And then we'll run Quasar dev. Sweet! And then hopefully this works. Module not found. Can it resolve? Oh, so this is, okay, so now we've got our boot file, which is not finding our config file. So how do I point to that? Man, I've got no idea. Source boot. Yeah, okay, so the problem I have now is that we should have a, hang on, let me just try and figure out the problem I have now. From a boot file, I basically want to be able to find the applications directory. I think I did this in my Sanctum plugin project. Let's see if I've still got that somewhere. Whoops, cd, oh God, slash code slash, let's just go there. Quasar dash Sanctum, maybe? Crap, I can't remember what I called it. Anyway, I think I can find it on GitHub anyway. So we're looking for my Sanctum project, which is your repositories. And I did something like this when I built my Sanctum UI app. Here it is here. So this is basically allows you to use Quasar with Laravel Sanctum. It's something I was playing around with, but I was never really happy with it. I'd never even made it public. Maybe I should have. And then, you know, someone else might have made it work properly. Man, I even did the docs for this. But anyway, the point is, if we go to app extension, source, I think it's in the index script, was it? No. I'm looking for that boot file, install. Oh, actually, from memory, I made it so that you had to do the boot file yourself. But I don't think that really makes sense with this project. Yeah, no, okay, so this isn't going to help me. So what I need is a way to say, inside of a boot file, inside of this boot file that's being pushed here, find me the config directory. And I don't know how to do that. Maybe Quasar gives you, I don't know, maybe Quasar gives you some of that information somehow. Let's try and find that boot file. So register. Oh man, I don't know. So let's look at the anatomy of a boot file and see if there's anything there that can help us. So Quasar's boot files. Anatomy of a boot file. SSR context. So this just gives us our URL. So that's not useful. That's not useful. And that's not useful either. Ah, bugger. How do we find the config then? Because this is what I want. I want the user to be able to just say, here's my config file. So Quasar, find that config file, and then just use it. I don't know. I might just have to leave it there, and that's going to be the challenge for next time. How do I make it so that a boot file in an app extension is able to basically dig in here and find that config file? Yeah, I don't know. So we got, I'm not seeing anything inside of the boot file that can help. What about aliases? I guess we could have a look and see if we get any aliases here. Oh, hang on, we do get an alias. No. Okay, I remember this. We have the source alias. So we could just say source/config. I think that's literally all I have to do, actually. So let's invoke the app again. We'll just run overwrite. Oh, that was a bad idea. Now I need to come in and copy paste that. Whoops. So let's copy that. Come into our config file. Paste that in. And there we go. Quasar dev. Man, I hope this works. This would be so cool. Give that a second to run. Source config firebase.js. It did not find. Test app. Oh, it's not actually source. It's just. All right, so let's have a look at. I want to know the aliases that we get by default. App. That's actually what we want. App config. Save that. Oh, it worked that time. Let's invoke it again. Skip. I think it's working. So this is cool. Basically, they install our app extension, and once they've installed our app extension, all you have to do to set up Firebase is jump into this file here and just paste the config directly in there. And then I'll probably have a setting as well. I don't know what I'll call it. Something like, oh look, we got extension settings here, so maybe something in there. That basically does the routing and gives you the login page and maybe the home page for you as well. I'm not really sure what that would look like yet. But now that that's working in this example app, let's go to the index file in the example app and see if we can use the component. And if it does, I'm going to call it a night. So source pages index. And now I should be able to import login form from Quasar UI. What do we call it? We call it Q Firebase. So there we go. That's that. I like to swap these around now. That's what Evan is suggesting these days. We use setup sugar there. And now I can literally just go import. Oh, hang on, they split these two apart. So import the login form and just see if we can now straight out use it. Quasar UI Q Firebase. So that did not find it. Okay, well, let's take a look in here then. Quasar UI, and if you go to Q Firebase, maybe I just need to run build on this actually. All right, well, let's try that. We'll close this out. We're already in the UI directory, so I should be able to say yarn build. Oh, error. All right, I think this is a problem for another day. At least we got most of the way there. And so the ultimate kind of the ultimate goal here for me is to be able to just say create a new extension, and then you get a config file when you do that. All right, so let's just imagine this is your app you've just created with Quasar. You add this extension, you get this config folder and Firebase.js. All you have to do is paste in your credentials, and this is exactly as Firebase gives it to you, so that's actually really easy to do. And then, in order to do authentication, all you have to do is pull that login form in directly. So you just pull in the form, and you've got a login form ready to go. And I'm going to have stuff where you can say, for example, input-props is equal to, and then you can just add some properties for your inputs. And then, of course, like I'll give you total control over this login form, where you can say, for example, template is equal to bottom, and then you can say, like, I want you to throw this beneath the form, or top, and you can throw something above the form, just in case you want to add like other input elements or stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is what I'm planning. Hopefully it's hopefully we're going to have things running a little bit more smoother tomorrow. I think I will now that the dev environment set up.